Hello guys, this is DJ.
Hey, this is Marco.
And Michał.
And this is CG Talks, a podcast where CG artists talk about CG.
Yeah, and this...
I think we never explained what CG really is. Like, assuming that everyone knows, like probably if he's listening to a CG podcast, he knows, but CG means just computer graphics. No more, no less. It's a pretty wide term.
You might say that, okay, so this might be, we talk mainly about 3D, but we do kind of go into broader topics that are technically like we cover a broad area of like CG in general, but I think it's fair to say that we're like a lot of what we discuss is 3D related.
Yeah, and today this is going to be the first episode of a cycle which we are going to do, and at the end of the month we are going to make a month update summary of what happened in CG, what kind of news they were, and also we'll end with some updates from our farm, from Garage, from .NET, what new features we have and stuff like that, anything interesting.
Yeah, so let's roll with September updates. Do you remember how it was? September, and I have the first news maybe here for this year's September, and it was quite hot topic in the Blender world, but it's like generally a render engine news that was announced by Pixar, and regarding Renderman 24, which is coming early 2021 in the first quarter, it's to be released, and they are planning to release it with the support for Blender, like officially fully integrated support for Blender. But they made a webinar showcasing the features that are coming.
But this is the first time Renderman is going to be supporting Blender at all, or just it's
there have been some early
ports,
early versions ports, but they were pretty much like not very fully integrated. Like there was some it was just like partially integrated for Blender, and not really like a production ready thing. But this time they are promising that this will be like a full feature implementation to Blender.
Will cycles or EV node setups be like directly transferable, I wonder, to Renderman? I wonder if it's that integrated. Like you can really just switch to Renderman as you render and have all of your materials still configured the exact same way, or will it have its own shaders? And
well, I'm sure that the shaders are pretty much Renderman based, but can't really recall whether there will be some kind of like a transfer from Cycles. Well, Cycles is using principal shader based on Pixar models, so probably this wouldn't be that hard to implement.
Right.
Some translator, but
because
finally
the general idea is the same, right? But they were showing like some nice features implemented in the new version of Renderman that are based on some kind of non-photorealistic shaders, like a painterly style render.
Wow.
Features for like on the render level, right, on the shader.
Oh geez, really?
Yeah, and that was pretty awesome. Like even introducing stuff like painterly strokes applied, like based on the distance from the camera. So stuff like depth of field, but with the painterly filter applied.
Wow, nice.
Acting like that. So some pretty nice developments there. Really,
Marco,
not just like
you can
another photorealistic render looking the same and just having the same impact.
Guess I'm never gonna have a social life ever.
You can now
and to be even more excited about this, there's a version of Renderman that you can use freely for evaluation. So unless you're doing something commercial with it, you can probably play around with it freely for fun. So say goodbye to your social life.
Marco, you can render your character from Mixamo with this non-photorealistic render. like some cartoon or something like that.
Yeah. Woo. But
by the way,
you can't. Sorry, you can't.
Recently, I was looking for some non-photorealistic renders to create some kind of like ink illustrations. I mean, taking into consideration that I will have to work on it also in Photoshop, but at least get some cool output. So maybe I will check on it if this is going to be good, at least as a raw render for some,
especially
some paint
for
over.
the coming Inktober, right?
Inktober is coming.
Yeah, we're ending September, so Inktober is just around the corner.
Oh, yeah. So, do you think that there is a reason to use Renderman for Blender except of this paint shaders?
There's always a discussion about there's cycles, so why do we need anything more? Like I'm in the position that like every new thing available is just good. Having plenty to choose from.
At least for the sake of competition.
Although,
and sometimes
did you mention that it's not commercial? You can't use it commercially? Did I hear that right?
Well, you can if you purchase a license, right? But but the free trial tier, something like that for no commercial use.
Cool news.
So,
I think I have a bit of news also. Anyone interested in the developments of the Epic versus Apple hearing? So as of 2 days ago, right?
It was to be like on 28th, right?
Yeah, 28th.
Some kind of
so it looks like the chances of Fortnite being rehosted on Apple aren't looking too good. Like the case is not on Epic, working for Epic in that in that side, but then the judge at least seems to favor Apple not involving Unreal and the developer accounts for Epic in this whole mess. So that's basically the highlight, and I think we're going to be the jury trial is going to happen July next year. So that's basically it. Unreal users are in the clear maybe, but the Fortnite being readopted into the Apple Store is kind of seems unlikely.
Unreal people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty unreal. All this stuff. Sometimes I've read comments that it's all just about money, but well, to some extent it is. But but I really see that Epic has some point on some freedom of choice for users.
Yeah, I think it's just that there's like a little hypocrisy. Like Epic is kind of trying to make itself look like the voice of the disenfranchised, but it actually operates similarly to Apple in many ways. But still, I mean, I'm biased, so even if objectively I don't think that I know they're up to something, I'm still rallying behind the Epic banner anyway.
Yeah, but so like my other news that I have here on my list is regarding Autodesk. So another big company holding their customer base in check, and they have announced recently that they joined the Open Design Alliance, which is an organization for supporting open standards. So that's mostly regarding, I think, IFC standard for some CAD stuff. So I've read that most of the user base of BIM apps that Autodesk is providing, like the Revit and stuff, they were expecting better integration with some open standards, like I think IFC or stuff like that. And that's probably why Autodesk is moving in that direction. But also, I've read comments from people like suspecting that this is just just a PR move to make the thing look better, and
probably
people waiting for DWG to become open or stuff like that. Like Autodesk opening up their closed standards data.
You can open DWG in some software which is not Autodesk.
But I mean opening up the format, right, itself, like with the documentation. Making it an open standard, really available to everyone, not being a proprietary closed file format.
I get it.
That actually just that kind of helps. I'm sure eventually that's going to be good news for Blender users too.
Yeah, I'm thinking like if you see Pixar's moves, they are kind of like on this open side to a lot of directions. They are like providing the USD development and stuff like that. So I think that's a general direction that the whole industry should go towards, because of course it's maybe not that convenient for corporations to keep people in their little garden, just like Apple does. But I think it in the end it benefits all.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it benefits users. There's no doubt about it.
It'll benefit studios and.
And by the way, I have 2 news about Epic mega grants. So continuing the Epic thread, they announced 2 mega grants this month, and the one was for Maxon, the company.
Interesting.
Cinema
4D, right?
Specific research?
We can recall they're donating Blender. Right now they are donating also Maxon for developing integration between Cinema 4D and Unreal Engine tools. So that's the general idea, I think, for most of the Epic mega grants. Like, they are donating things that might be useful for their potential user base for Epic products, right? Like Unreal, for example. And the second one, which received the mega grant, was YC Lab. I don't know if I pronounce it well. Generally the company behind Instant Terra, the application for generating terrain.
Oh wow!
Procedurally. So I think a little similar to Gaia, I think. Right?
And other stuff like Terracan, Vue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So another tool in the potential Unreal Creator toolbox.
That's good. That gives a chance of this tool to develop. I mean, a lot of these smaller 3D applications, these niche applications, sometimes deteriorate and they just disappear, or they are not developed. So that's a cool news. Mm-hmm. And also, I can see that Cinema 4D R23 was released. I don't know what's new. Maybe you know, guys. And
they introduced some tools for animators, like more convenient ways of animating characters. Some pose library improvements, stuff like that. Like I've seen, I just briefly watched the presentation video on the release. Well, I'm not really a Cinema 4D user. I've seen it used by some people, and maybe I was just like comparing it to Blender features. So yeah, some of these developments seemed pretty like handy for users. Like, they improved also the UVW tools for unwrapping. I think just some minor features, I think. But the highlight was the animation features mostly, I think.
Yeah, worth to check it out. And cycles for Houdini, which I don't use
Yeah,
despite
I think
Outlaw.
that was announced by Tangent Animation Studios. Like they have some kind of like an R&D part of their company, and they are introducing tools like that. Probably they use them themselves. Like they were using cycles for their feature animations. So probably they are also using Houdini for simulations, and they introduced a tool.
Yeah,
New
good
tool for Houdini users.
Yeah, and good for GPU users, I guess. GPU rendering.
Yeah, we can see that this is happening a lot, like interchanging render engines between different applications, like more and more popping out. Like I at least me as a Blender user, I'm seeing it all the time. Like more and more engines coming to Blender. There are some that still kind of resist it. Like I've seen, for example, for Corona, the developers are pretty much hesitant to do any kind of integration.
Do you know why?
They have their reasons for the GPL license and stuff like that, and probably they're not like smelling money in it somehow. Like
You know why?
At least I've seen
why?
On the social media. I've
Monopolies.
Seen, like,
that's why.
Why?
It's all about the monopolies.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
There was also an interesting survey about render engines in ArcGIS in particular, like ArcGIS being probably one of the main uses for Corona. In fact, the survey, it was done by the CG Architect website, and it might be kind of a little bit biased because of the user base that's using this web page. So it's not like a super objective worldwide.
And these are architects mostly, and some people who do ArcGIS. But for example, on the third place there is Lumion, which is in normal. I think like I don't know if there would be such a survey on CG architect on CG Society. I don't think Lumion would be the third, because this is very much, I think it's used mostly with SketchUp.
Yeah, and it's generally it must be biased, but it's specifically aimed at the ArcGIS industry. So still V-Ray is on the top of this survey. Like we'll leave a link in the description, right, for the podcast, so you can have a look at it yourself, and like you can get some nice outcome out of watching this. Like V-Ray is like the top of the tops, then the second goes Corona, then there's Lumion and Unreal, so like stuff for more real time. Twinmotion there. I'm
surprised why V-Ray is first and Corona is second.
That was interesting for me. Like it still seems like V-Ray is holding up strongly as the main tool for ArcGIS anyway. Like I've seen people switching from V-Ray to Corona quite a lot, but then again, after Chaos Group joining with the Corona team, and they are really right now the same company, V-Ray is getting more and more Corona-like.
Yeah.
and vice versa, probably. Like maybe not, because Corona doesn't seem to be going in the like more versatile direction. It's pretty much focused on being simple and already set up for just pushing the render button, right? Not tweaking settings too much.
Exactly. I mean, if I taught somebody who would like to do ArcGIS now, some render engine, I would start with Corona. It's even though Chaos Group did a lot in last years to make V-Ray simpler, at least for Rhino, SketchUp. They created some simpler user interface and some gradation between basic, intermediate, and advanced tools. But still, Corona it's like one sheet of almost one sheet of settings. It's very, very easy. So yeah, maybe it's the consequence of the fact that V-Ray was so long, the first one, and maybe also Corona is unbiased, so still the render times maybe not good enough for people who are architects and have just workstations. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what's interesting that Cycles is there already, like on 6% outcome, and their EV is a little bit behind. So I've read that this is a raise from the last year because it's a yearly survey. So it's probably creeping up to this branch a little bit. Well, I wouldn't call Cycles the best choice for ArcViz anyway. It's more like in the league of Renderman and stuff like that. That's used for animation more stuff. Not necessarily.
Why do you think that Cycles is not?
Cycles is it has some limitations. And, well, you can get pretty good results with Cycles, but you have to really know it through and know how to go around these. And especially in interiors, I had a hard time with noise and long render times because it's really it doesn't use, for example, like light caching, stuff like that, which is pretty normal and standard for most render engines like V-Ray, Corona. And you have that, for example, in LuxCore. So if you want a well integrated render engine in Blender and use a fast light caching for interiors, for example, you might want to try LuxRender, which is on the list somewhere with 1% here, so way behind. Not really popular yet.
You need to treat all these three engines as one, as basically Blender users.
Mm-hmm.
So also Blender 2.90.0 was released.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, 2.90.1 was released within September as well.
Mm-hmm. Generally, have you switched, Marco, to the new version, or are you still using the long-term support?
No, I'm on 2.90.1 now, which is, and I think that's the it's basically this is sort of the new counterpart to the A releases, right? Like we used to have 2.80A, right? And then so this is sort of the I guess 2.90.1 is the beginning of LTS for the 2.90 series, right?
I think that it might be like not being LTS for the 2.90. Like it will wait for the 3.0 or so. But I'm not sure.
It's
I
just
haven't really figured out the new version.
Me neither. But anyway, anyone who's like Andrew was saying, the 2.9 series is out, and as of this recording, you can download the first what would we call it? I guess the first hotfix release, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
of the 2.9 series. Yeah.
So what would makes it worth the 2.90?
It seems like a smaller jump than 2.80, which was like a huge leap forward.
Yeah.
But right now it's like more polishing up stuff that were a little bit unfinished in the 2.80. Right now it's getting polished, like the UI changes, little slight changes, like for example the modifiers being able to just drag them around. But in the stack, like small changes like that, but also some nice features introduced.
Yeah, like, especially for example, in the sculpting department.
Yeah, the sculpting department is really worked on like crazy.
Yeah, by the sculpt cloth filter, for example, is
So Pablo Navarro is just like he's on fire. Right?
Yeah, it's insane. So because for your curiosity, Andrew, like. So Blender has a sculpt mode, right? And then you can mainly you can think of it as a very light version of ZBrush. It has all of the essential brushes that you need to be able to sculpt. And then in the 2.9 series, or in 2.83, I think. One of the developers introduced these cloth brushes, and so basically like you have a less sophisticated cloth simulation within your sculpting tool. So then you can but it's a brush that you treat like any other sculpting brush. So you're kind of applying changes by the stroke on your mesh.
So like wrinkles on some sofas.
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Exactly.
So you can choose like perpendicular. You can indicate like pinch points on clothes. You can do sort of you can do a push or pull. You can sort of drag downwards. But 2.9 released came with like a cloth filter, which is like you basically, once you activate it, you don't apply any strokes. You just drag your mouse across the viewport, and then it applies global changes to your mesh. So you can think of it as like applying a global gravity simulation on the cloth. If you add masks on the cloth, then you can allow you can get the unmasked area to simulate, and then it can be really useful for making like very big changes on like a type of clothing that you want to shape. And yeah, so that's one, like that, and among other added features to sculpting have been like, I guess, the major updates for 2.9. These are most anticipated ones.
They are also in like improving the multi-resolution performance. So like generally dealing better with geometry, and recently they added some multi-object sculpting, right? Improvements.
Yeah.
You can like switch between objects, not leaving the sculpt mode, and yeah.
But that's is that in 2.90.1?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe it's
I'd
in
have
the
to
night
check.
builds
Yeah,
right now.
that'd be cool.
But one feature also added into the modeling tool set is the new Extrude Manifold tool, which is kind of like this SketchUp like, extruding inwards and outwards, without with adapting geometry.
Yeah, so basically,
kind of like
you don't have to
SketchUp,
keep adding cuts to
or more SketchUp like Extrude feature.
Yeah,
which was funnily it was just before Blender introduced it. It was introduced like a similar new tool was introduced into 3ds Max, which is kind of interesting, an interesting phenomena that
But I'm curious though. Does the tool in 3ds Max adapt topology, or are you going to end up with like?
I think it does. I haven't really like compared these don't seem like totally the same, right? I think they are a little bit different, but haven't really like investigated thoroughly towards that. Like, but the funny thing is that both apps are kind of like competing on the same area and trying to introduce the same new feature, which was like definitely a feature loved by SketchUp users, right?
And like in terms of Blender and ZBrush, so the new release of ZBrush, which I think also came out this month, if I'm not wrong, they introduced like a cloth simulator brush as well on their which is, of course, I mean, like you can, like as expected, it's much more sophisticated, and it'll be much more wieldy, I guess, because ZBrush can handle larger poly counts. But yeah, interesting. I mean, it's nice to see. It's nice to. I mean, I don't even know if like they're aware that Blender was developing these sculpting tools, but it's nice to see sort of a trend that's
I don't
like
think
they're taking cues from each.
I don't think there's a possibility that they are not aware. Like Blender's development is so open. You just have to go to a website and check what's going on in the Blender world. There's no secret there. Everything's open. So there is no like secret weapon somewhere developed in the Blender world. They're all out in the open. As soon as anything appears, it's
I mean, they do have a secret weapon, but he's out in the open too. And it's Pablo Dubarro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully
The
he's safe.
ultimate.
And
Yeah.
DLC.
Yeah.
But another cool
Oh my
feature
God.
that was introduced in this Blender version, which is pretty it's pretty big. It's at first you might not notice it, but the new sky texture.
Oh
So
yeah,
if you
yeah.
want like
of course,
an interactive sky for animations like time lapses or whatever, or just in general a more realistic sky without using HDRs,
yeah,
the Nishita model is introducing the cycles. So
yeah, with controls
that's also
for
interesting that Corona,
ozone,
like,
dust,
like the
altitude.
latest Corona release also introduced a new sky model. So it's
Yeah.
kind of
Mm.
it's a feature that people expect.
Oh right, yeah, yeah. I remember.
software.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's more toned. The new Corona Sky model. It's less like over the top contrasty. It's less contrast, and it's look more like fine and delicate. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
It's
thinking
okay.
that the HDR, it's kind of like a little bit this fight between using image textures against using procedural textures. Like I'm seeing like a lot of procedural stuff returning to the forefront because there was some time that like people was thinking that procedural is good for game art, but not really photorealistic stuff because you have to base on the scanning data or photography. But I think right now it's like the tide is turning. Like some procedural stuff creators are achieving really, really good results in replicating the nature with just algorithms.
I think it needed some time, and if I can imagine a procedural creator of high dynamic range skies in software, that's fantastic thing. I mean, you need to look sometimes very long for the sky that fits your needs, and these are heavy maps. So if I could have it in one creator, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, and just play around with the sliders, right, to suit your needs, and then you can like easily change it. Like for example, for a time lapse video, you can change it during the animation, for example, right, easily.
Yeah. And you have a lot of control. You don't have, for example, sometimes on this in 3ds Max, the HDRI sky is not enough to create hard shadows, even though there is like sun which is not behind clouds. It's there, but the shadows are not sharp enough. You need to add some additional lighting. Yeah, so such a system, it would be fantastic with the AI or whatever included. So
yeah, I think it's already close to nice results, and it will get in the coming years it will just get where we want it, right? So
yeah, I noticed that the HDRI maps, which are the most popular, are usually not just regular skies. There are just some extreme situations. I mean, not like completely crazy, but dust, downs, this kind of stuff. Like maybe some little reddish sky because of down and similar. So if there was a procedural map which would be able to cover this kind of stuff, you decide how many and what kind of clouds you have, and also the geographical, let's say, templates. Like there is a different lighting in Africa and in Norway. That would be cool. And yeah, finally, I think that there will be less reasons to use XR maps, at least for architectural visualizations, because also this map needs to have a clear horizon and no other stuff there, because it kind of makes it creates some problems. I can understand, let's say, using EXR map inside of forest for some car visualization, for some car render, this kind of stuff. But for architecture, you just need a sky, and that's all. And the only thing that counts, it's the the skylighting itself. So that would be cool to get to that point.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Like, we're already getting there to some extent.
Yeah. Actually, I'd say that like this this first half of 2020 has been pretty good for CG. I mean, I think that we're covering September updates only, but there have been a lot of like crazy finds throughout this year that are super, like very beneficial software that's very beneficial to 3D artists in particular.
Yeah, I mean, that all stuff just evolves, but sometimes there are just these leaps forward when you can see the change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one small feature also introduced in the new Blender was tracing images to grease pencil objects. So kind of like a vector tracing possibility inside Blender, just like the same one
you're gonna
that you
love
have in
that,
Inkscape,
Andrew.
right? A similar one using the same library. I think
because you can theoretically, like, you can draw, let's say you can draw an outline, translate it into grease pencil in Blender, and then translate that into a curve. I mean, it's just there's just a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, another one, another handy tool for all the conceptors, right? Like I've seen a discussion on, in the whole 3D scape landscape with all the applications where Blender can shine really, because like Blender trying to be the Swiss knife of all, jack of all trades, and doing everything is not really, it's not really a tool for anything, right? The best tool for anything, but I think it's
it's perfect for concepting,
for concept ideation, like quick generation of
the Swiss knife of the industry for the MacGyvers of the industry.
Yeah, it's starting to go into that direction, I think, and it's pretty cool. Like in this modern, fast-paced industry, and you have to be able to generate things quickly, and Blender is really good for that. And that's pretty funny, because with before cycles were introduced, like Blender was also like always kind of like, cycles to some extent is still like lagging behind the other software, but it's slowly getting on par with everyone else, and probably could be even going faster, but in terms of render times and stuff like that. But right now we having Eevee and other tools that can help you, and the denoisers, which are a godsend for quick concept generation, right? You can have a pretty decent preview render without going into extreme samples and to render times. So I guess Blender is starting to be the perfect tool for getting quick results, right?
Yeah, totally. And which is, I think that's because on an industry, like you can kind of see where even in the way that it's beginning to cater to 2D artists and sort of allow a sort of ease of transition. It can be a very powerful tool. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever tried Clip Studio Paint. It's a 2D digital painting tool, but it's paid. But I checked out the free trial some time ago, and their latest feature is they have these sort of 3D mannequins that are introduced into the software already that you can pose and then draw over. And I mean, that could really be great for when you're working on a job for a client and are in a rush. But you can essentially do that with Blender already. and yeah, so you can see how sort of like whether you want to quickly block something and use it as reference for your 2D art, or just be able to kind of be able to concept in both 2D and 3D, which I'm sure is going to be a going to make you a powerful asset in the concept industry. I mean, it's animatics, and it's I think Blender is a very it's ideal for sort of that kind of jack of all trades.
Right, and I
approach.
think that also not to turn this into a kind of like all Blender based praise or Blender apotheosis, right? I think like from this, looking at this month, even like the events that took place in the whole industry, you can clearly see that the growth of Blender and like it getting like into the middle of the industry and doing all this buzz with the 2.80 release and making like the industry standard players feel a bit unsafe, so to speak. It really benefits all, right? Like so people complaining about slow development of 3ds Max or Cinema 4D, they can really like say thank you to the Blender community. Thank you for like pushing those those guys there. So that right now they have to step up the game. They have to offer more to make people wanting to pay for that, which is generally it's okay. Like that people developing the software, they want to get paid for their product they're making. It's pretty okay, but the users at the end want to get some value out of it, right? So especially in the subscription model that's going on, that it's really good for the whole competition like landscape, that everyone has to really innovate, right? They have to be, if Blender introduces the Sculpt brush, ZBrush can't fall behind on any level. If they still want to be like the go-to solution for sculptors, right? They have to be better than Blender.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, like to inject more Blender propaganda. They're already working on excuse me. They're already working on optimize like I don't know if they want to refactor their poly handling, but there's they've been saying that in the latter releases of Blender, like the ability to for like the level of usability in high poly counts is going to increase. So being able to like the whole like being able to manage like trillions of polys from purely the software's capability is it isn't too far off.
Yeah, maybe let's hope that having Epic on board with financing Blender development, and they introducing these techniques for I don't know.
Yeah, really hope they don't
geometric virtualization, or I don't know how they did that. With the Unreal 5 demo.
Yeah.
Not really that technical to get into the details,
but I really hope that this is like somehow like they aren't like destroyed by Apple at the end of this whole case, and I think they've already been countersued, right? So I mean, I really hope that they planned their moves right, and that they didn't like dig a pit for themselves, because it's been really great what they've been doing this past year and a bit earlier. I mean, I hope that it really does end up this this CG utopia becomes a reality.
Yeah, and at least we are not sleeping as well. We are also planning as Garage Farm our moves.
Yeah,
we have been really active.
So maybe I'll talk about some updates from GarageFarm.net and Xestop, which are our service. So the biggest update is, I mean, we've just finished our August and September promo where we gave more nodes to users, but we left them at higher levels. So for low priority you get 50 nodes for all jobs, and I think like maybe several months ago it was like 10. For medium you get 150 nodes for every job, and for high you get 300 nodes for every job. Of course, as long as the nodes are free and not taken by other customers. So this is making the farm much faster and much cheaper, because as I noticed, many of our customers just render on low, and these 50 nodes, it's just enough for them to finish rendering within their deadline. Also,
and is that 30% discount for Blender jobs still?
On top of the fact that, I mean, on Blender, let's say you're rendering on Blender on low, so you pay 25% of the cost of the high job. Let's say 25% of the full cost.
Yeah, I've had an experience with that, doing render for our recent tutorial, and it really was definitely cheaper than before. Like also like being able to render on the GPU right now, because Cycles is better at the GPU right now.
Yeah,
rendering on low and with the GPU on, you can really cheaply render out sequences of animation.
So this month we didn't buy any more GPU nodes. We have more than 40 GPU nodes with the GPU cards on them. But so on low you can render with up to 96 gigabytes RAM, and on medium you can start rendering with 128 gigabytes RAM. And also, if that's not enough, we have nodes with 256 gigabytes RAM. I mean, it's better to ask support how to use them, because they can be expensive if you don't know how your scene is rendering, like how long it's loading, how long it's rendering. So this is the news when it comes to the capacity of the farm. And also we have the Xstop service where you rent GPU servers. You just pay for hours of usage. So right now we have 13 operational 1080 Ti servers with 10 1080 Ti cards on each server, and we have 6 operational V100 servers with 8 Tesla V100 60 gigabytes VRAM cards on them. And the good news is that we recently checked, and the V100 servers support NVLink, which is a feature of NVIDIA cards where you can pair them, and so you can make the amount of VRAM 2 times bigger. So it would be 32 gigabytes of VRAM per card. But we haven't tested it truthfully yet. I mean, we have first customers who are going to check it. But technically, according to the NVIDIA documentation, this is possible on V100 servers. So this is a good news, because this VRAM is still a bottleneck for GPU rendering.
Right.
So I encourage you to check on it. You can register, get free credits. Also, one thing that was left from our promo is that our 1080 Ti servers cost $6 per hour, but our V100 servers now cost $8 per hour rather than $10 per hour. So they are now they are most cost efficient. Also, you have you have 8 Tesla V100 cards, but there is some software which doesn't support 10 cards. We had the problem with, I think, Redshift, where 2 cards were just not used on these 1080 Ti servers. So you can try them as well. And in general, in our cloud rendering, we added some new features. I mean, I'm not going to talk about fixes and stuff like that, because this is a lot of stuff that we added. But from the most important features in Web Manager, this is our browser-based manager of jobs. We added preview for AXR, CXR, and FXR images renders, and also you can check if your textures are uploaded correctly. But this is mostly for quickly checking the the preview of your frames.
Wow.
And also XRs are converted to JPEGs on the fly by the preview window. So they are correctly displayed, and also much faster to display than XRs.
Right.
Yeah. So also we fixed some alpha issue with TIF and TIFF preview. Another feature which is cool. It is like most of the features. It was added for the request of our customers. Is that you can set. Our system sends you notifications about finished jobs, started jobs, and all the important information about your jobs in the queue. Now you can set several emails to which these emails are going to be sent. So if you work in a team, or for example, there is an artist and also the creative director would like to see what's happening on the farm with the jobs, they will all get the emails if you just input them in your web manager settings.
Wow.
Another thing is that we Mark, you just say wow. But
no, because I didn't.
I'm shocked.
I didn't know. I just used Web Manager like recently, and I had no idea how much it's developed since I've been like kind of hands on in the farm side.
Yeah, you can like not notice if you just using it the same way all the time. But there's new stuff. Another new stuff is that our web manager is now showing the whole farm queue. I mean, you can check, for example, how many jobs are ahead of you in the queue based on the job, but also you can see the whole queue. I mean, how many jobs there are, how many frames are rendering. So that gives you more opportunity to choose your priority without, for example, risking that you will set your job on high despite the queue is very short and you pay for high when you could actually render on medium, for example. So that's very useful for optimizing your costs. Another thing is that our render beamer, so this is our uploader downloader, which works in conjunction with the plugin for your DCC. We released a new version and we added some stuff, and we added an option to choose download directories. So for now, it was just one download directory where for the renders from the farm, which you set somewhere. But now you can set the download directory to be created per scene to be in the folder from which the scene was uploaded. So very similar way how users do on their own computers. You have this scene and you have the folder with renders for this scene. So now you can also have this their farm download folder for renders for that particular scene, and you don't have to move them.
That's pretty convenient. Yeah, I've had trouble with having too much downloaded from the farm in one place, and
so that speeds up the whole workflow. And also we added a Korean language to Render Beamer. That's a good news. And now I will just tell something about our plugins. We mostly this month we focus on Cinema 4D and Blender. So for Cinema 4D in Web Manager, when you add your job to the queue, you have information about cameras and takes. You can tick them on or off. You know what takes and what cameras are used during adding the job. We also added. Well, we had some problems with that. It was like a bug. Now all Redshift proxies assets are uploaded. Always they are found by our plugin and uploaded to the farm. There are no problems with that. Also, for Cinema 4D, we have this feature called Auto Submit. When you have a lot of jobs, you can just turn on Auto Submit and set some default settings for submitting the job to the farm, and you don't have to do it manually. So it's much faster when you have a lot of jobs. And For Cinema 4D, we added the camera mode, take mode, and camera mode rendering modes to auto submit. So that will speed up your farm workflow if you are using these rendering modes. And also we added support for OCIO files used with Redshift renderer. So this is the updates for Cinema 4D. For Blender, we, of course, actually it was the end of August, we added support for Blender 2.90. Also, if you are using Blender with LuxScore or LuxScore, it's going to be automatically set to nodes with GPU cards. And actually, this is a feature of LuxScore Render right now, that even if you render with CPU, you need to have a GPU card there. So they are going to be rendered with GPU cards, and if you use GPU, then you don't have to choose in the submit window. It automatically, these jobs are going to go to GPU nodes. Also, we added support for Blender effects reading from the scene. So basically, our configuration file, which is sent to farm, which is useful to deploy all the needed plugins and to prepare the nodes for rendering, and also it's very often useful for troubleshooting. So if you're using Blender effects, our system is going to read the settings, and pass them to the farm for use. And for 3ds Max, we added support for hidden Xrefs assets. This is one of these things that appear. It's not possible to expect or to foresee. Just a customer had used Xrefs, but they were hidden in the scene, and so we added support for the assets and Xrefs which are not visible in the scene but they are used in the scene. So these are the most important updates from GarageFrom.net and Xstop. Actually, this is a list which was filtered. I have just chosen the most important ones,
but there's much more,
and definitely you can expect even more. Or at least similar amount next month, because the team is working hard all the time.
Baseballs. Okay, well, that's I guess that would be it for our round of updates for this end of the month episode, right?
Yes.
Okay, so so thanks everyone for sticking around. We hope this information proves useful to you guys. And
guys, give us feedback on YouTube comments if you like this new format of podcast. If you think that's useful, if you would like to hear something more or else,
we'll try to do that regularly, monthly. So one episode each month will be that kind of a recap of the month. So the next one, Inktober. So and then November, right? Come on. I don't think that December has something like that I know of. Like January is a Sculpt January. Sculpt January.
December sounds like retopology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, maybe fun. You can think of something and share your thoughts in the comments. And we have 12 months to cover, so I don't know if each one has a nice name and nice theme for it, but we hope you will like this new format.
Yeah.
So hear you next week, guys.
Yeah. With that, see you next week.
And happy rendering.
Happy rendering.